Hi Lenny, thanks for coming in today to be interviewed by the Social Blueprint. Really appreciate it and looking forward to interviewing you. Now, in our community, you are known as a kind-hearted larrikin. But we all know you were heavily involved in the start of Access, which is an empowerment group for socially challenged individuals. But you are also known for servicing our community through Lenny's Deli. Now, first up, what did you study at school or university?
So firstly, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be part of Social Blueprint. Social Blueprint is everything I sort of like about the community. So it's a great opportunity for me to come and speak. Secondly, I started at Corfu Grammar and didn't really have much to do with Judaism till I was in year 12. And in year 12, I started a whole lot of different sporting teams. And that really was a transformation for me into being a really passionate Jewish person in the community. I then went into the social scene, the Jewish social scene, and then I met, obviously, a Jewish girl, and I then became ultimately part of Lenny's Deli, which I suppose is what most people know me for. Lenny's Deli is really the culmination of everything I believe in dealing with the sort of different situations that I've started to deal with today. The structure and community of Judaism is, as I said, incredibly passionate for us. In terms of the larrikin part, I suppose that's a good way of putting it, and maybe that's more of a technique as opposed to general character. So long as it doesn't underplay how intense and passionate and committed we are to meeting our goals. So we could talk about our goals later on.
And I'm just curious, was the sport you were involved in with Maccabi? Is that what?
Yes, it was Maccabi.
Okay, so that's
that
where
really,
the Jewish...
Yeah. Maccabi was really, as I said, the real start. Going to Corfu Grammar, that was really the start of becoming connected to being Jewish and loving it.
Go Maccabi.
Yeah.
Okay, what motivated you to get involved with Access, and what ignited your desire to get involved in that sector?
So I think it's pretty simple, really. I think most people have empathy towards people that they may feel disadvantaged or have a special need, for example, or even lonely or even depressed for a minute or two. So I think most people would probably take that in. So I think the difference may be, and this is not to denigrate anybody else, the basic difference is that it actually upsets me, and I'm quite eager to attend to it ASAP. And that may be whoever that may be. So I suppose the answer to that question is feeling people's pain is really what this is all about. So that was how Access started, apart from the fact that my wife, Access is a group, as you explained, for people with special needs who would like to be involved in mainstream community. So my wife was involved with Access early on and on the committee, and at that stage it was an advocacy group, and then we then proceeded to take it much further in terms of programs and establishing a serious connection between the community and the participant.
Incredible job you've both done, honestly, amazing. What's your background in mental health and special needs? Do you have a background before this?
So not really, except I think experience and know-how in terms of patience. Patience is really the key. Patience and the ability to listen intently and wait for your opportunity. So is that a background? I haven't had a background. I'm just a parent that would probably take the same approach if you can with your own children. And I've taken that a step further, but I have worked with multitude of counsellors, psychologists, psychiatrists, any type of social welfare people. So in terms of actual study, bits and pieces of courses along the way, but realistically, just trying to give the right answer, the textbook answer to any situation is my background. And of course, complementing the part that I find it hard to come to grips with people who are genuinely suffering from whatever ailment that may be.
Beautiful.
So that's really where I'm at, and that sort of has continued through Lenny's Deli, and through Lenny's Deli, I was lucky enough to even become more involved in the Jewish community, and I was lucky enough to, I suppose, get some exposure for the community to enable to me to do what we're doing next door to Lenny's Deli, and do what really is my passion, as opposed to selling kreplach and chicken soup and gefilte fish.
So you've now sold Lenny's Deli, for anyone who doesn't know, and there is different management in at Access. What's your next project?
So before Lenny's Deli was sold, we had already started what the pathway that we were intending to go. And that pathway, so my daughter and myself, Samantha, who is a counsellor, and my other daughter, Mindy, who's an OT. So the pathway is a continuation of what I explained earlier, and that is early intervention with people with issues, generally around loneliness. Our group is called Positive Directions, so if you look at the positivedirections.com.au, it will really explain how we believe we go about dealing with mental health. And it's really the cornerstone of the whole thing for us is loneliness in a whole lot of different ways. That might be loneliness from your parents, loneliness from your peers, loneliness at your workplace, but that might be not being asked out on a Saturday night, or being a broken relationship. So any of those sort of things, special needs or not special needs, really we feel we are now equipped to build on that situation. And the way we build on that situation, Samantha and myself, is as early as possible intervention, coupled with a combination of different techniques bordering on exercise, therapy, self-esteem, support, and Judaism. We have quite a few people who are not Jewish, but we're always looking for community. If they're not Jewish, we're looking for their community. We are always looking for community and structure. And we also believe, or I believe, that part of the issue with mental health, apart from COVID aside, is that Judaism has fallen away in terms of community. So social blueprint is a great thing, and the like, because the more we come together as a community, the more security we have within ourselves, the more self-esteem you have, the ability to structure your life. And that is where that particular point right in there in the middle is where we can, try and get into an early intervention stage of mental health. So Judaism important, structure important, therapists important, but really just making people feel comfortable within themselves, not overpowering them or empowering them at a very young age, just enough to help them back into feeling good about themselves, into a stage where they can then think they can enter into any type of relationship, whatever that relationship may be, coupled with lots of exercise.
Because that has been proven.
I think that's documented. So it's not rocket science. What we're doing is what difference for us is we're working with people that are 15 to 25-year-olds predominantly girls.
Yes.
And predominantly people that may have fallen a little bit away from their normal community and structure, family, Judaism, work, and then of course you've got year 11 and 12 and throw COVID in and whatever. So working, not underplaying psychologists, heavy role obviously. Don't think that we're any better than them. We are a complement to them.
Yes.
And we are also another opportunity if they aren't working. So
Yes.
we are a great opportunity for someone to come and chill. And this is where the patience and listening comes in. Eventually, the person will tell you something.
Yes.
And that goes for your own children. You just have to wait for the trigger. And the trigger will always come, assuming that they want to get better.
So you've mentioned that loneliness is a significant issue you deal with. What other issues have you been dealing with?
So,
Not you personally.
yeah. So social media is the king of all problems. FOMO is up there for all of us, mainstream, special needs, mental health. And as opposed to when we were growing up, it's quite real and visual in front of our eyes every minute, every day. So you need some discipline to be able to deal with the fact that you can't have that, which is a hard thing in a great affluent country like Australia. So that emanates in a lot of different ways.
When you say can't have that, sorry, do you mean can't have that meaning try and refrain from social media?
Well, you should refrain from social media, but I meant was you might not be able to have that trip to Hawaii for the weekend. You might not be able to have, Elton John at your 13th bar mitzvah or the like. You might just sort of keep it real.
Yes.
And if we can keep it real without being too over the top, I don't have a problem with people who are wanting that. You want the best from your function, but I think we should try and keep it real in my family if I can, which is not easy and things happen. But I do believe that the real root of the problem starts with social media, year 11 and year 12, the day school system, and then the fact that Judaism is struggling. I believe that to be a big factor. All these things community problems that we're losing sight of our community. So if we can get on top of that, I think most kids growing up will have a normal life and a good, happy life, and that's what we're all after. So the things we're after is unconditional happiness and the ability that when we are unhappy to be resilient enough to get through it.
Very, very good. Okay, how do you think that you're different to other therapists?
Because we're hands-on. So we have a situation where we have somebody who's connected like myself through Lenny's Deli and being Jewish and being involved in the Jewish community. We have an ability to refer and to act on each situation. We're not going to solve everybody's problems, but we have a very high success rate, very high. So even for people that have heavy mental health conditions, we work with patience and listening skills to wait for the opportunity, and we actually succeed in getting them something in their week. So that's a win for people who have serious health conditions, mental health conditions. The other thing that we have that, as I said before, psychiatrists and psychologists, is the ability to act on the therapy required and me being connected to the community.
So it sounds very, very personal service that you're almost hand-holding to get them what they need, that often in therapy it's just one service, but you offer many services depending on what the individual needs.
Look, it is handheld, but when I say handheld, we want them to butterfly.
Yes, of course.
As quickly as possible, because we have quite a bit still
I just
to come
meant
in.
when they were fragile.
Yes, yeah. So when they're fragile, we work incredibly hard, or as hard as they'll let us. And it comes back to what we said before is, there is a distinction between people who actually want to get better and don't want to get better. So we will assess that as quickly as possible. And if we'll try and do both, but we'll work a lot harder on the people that want to get better. And then the quicker we can get them back, and then they can touch base with us whenever they want. And if it doesn't work, which sometimes it doesn't, obviously, we're not the right people, or the fit's not right, or they've succeeded somewhere else. In the end, our passion, my daughter and myself, is to succeed in the task. Now, most of what I do, I don't charge for. So my daughter said, so that should give you some idea of the sort of passion
and commitment
that we're trying to adopt here.
Okay.
And that is,
as we start to wrap this up then, can you tell us something that people would be surprised to learn about Lenny Gross?
Yeah, look, I'm not so great myself. People have a perception that I'm, I do this and do that, but I've got my things as well. Everyone has a work in progress situation in their life, and I'm constantly reevaluating things I've done or mistakes I've made or wedding speeches that went a bit over the top. So all those sort of things are work in progress. So as much as I try to help other people, I'm working hard on myself.
It's a really
and I think they might be surprised that, or my wife might tell you that I'm not the greatest husband in the world either, but work in progress.
We don't believe her anyway.
Good.
And finally, what do you love about our community?
I love our community. I love it from the day year 11 and 12 from Caulfield Grammar. I love everything about it. I love what it gives. I love what it's given me. I'm forever grateful for what it's given me, and I've spent many, many, many hours and years paying that back, and I could still not pay it back what it's given my family and myself and my friendship groups, and the ability to be happy my whole life. So I love lots about it, and I would love it more if people loved it as well as much as I do. That would be amazing, and not lose sight of the fact what it gives them. So I just wanted to finish off by saying that I think, or our motto at Flex Counselling or Positive Directions is, true happiness is when you have an ability to give the person you're with happiness. And if you feel good about doing that, then you can look at yourself in a different light, because that's one of the hardest things to do, is make the other person happy.
It's lovely.